You could make a realistic argument that the Bills were the best team in the NFL last season, but their season ended in heartbreak in that wild shootout against the Chiefs in the divisional round. Remember, it went to overtime and Josh Allen never even got a chance to get the ball. This offseason, Buffalo has gotten even better though, and it's very clear around the league that the Bills are the team to beat in the NFL. The Bills' big signing this offseason was Von Miller. Von spent over 10 years in Denver after the Broncos drafted him second overall in 2011. Over that span, Von was the Defensive Rookie of the Year, a 7-time All-Pro, and made the Pro Bowl 8 times. More importantly, he was a huge part of that Broncos Super Bowl victory back in 2015. He was even named the Super Bowl MVP. Then in 2021, he was traded mid-season to the Rams and won his second Super Bowl. When his contract expired, the Bills gave him a massive 6-year, $120 million deal. The Bills continue to bolster up their defense at the draft, selecting Kaiir Elam. Kaiir played every game as a true freshman at Florida and was named All-Freshman SEC. He started his sophomore year on the Jim Thorpe Award watch list given to the best defensive back in the country. Kaiir ended up being named second-team All-SEC. After his junior season, Kaiir declared for the draft. The Bills used their 2022 first-rounder on him. Kaiir may have been the first guy Buffalo took at the draft, but he's definitely not the biggest name, that's for sure. Easily, it's James Cook. James Cook is Dalvin Cook's little brother. Now, James went to Georgia, and he didn't have much of a role as a rookie. 284 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. He had kind of a similar season in 2019, but he did more through the air. Cook had 428 yards and 5 touchdowns from scrimmage as a junior, which was that COVID year, and then he finally broke out big time as a senior in Athens. Cook had over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, over 700 of that rushing, and 11 total touchdowns. Of course, that was Georgia's national championship winning season. This past offseason, the Bills selected Cook in the second round. The Bills signed a couple of other guys on the offense that may not make a crazy impact, but they're certainly really intriguing, kind of like O.J. Howard, who was set up to back up Dawson Knox at tight end. Now, Howard spent the first 5 years of his career in Tampa Bay after the Buccaneers drafted him in 2017 in the first round. He was solid in his first 3 seasons. Howard had over 400 yards every year, a high of 565 in 2018, and he had 2 years with at least 5 touchdowns. Unfortunately, he didn't do shit in his last 2 years in Tampa Bay. Howard had less than 300 yards, but he did win a ring in 2020. He signed a 1-year deal with the Bills in the 2022 offseason, just like Jamison Crowder, who was going to replace Cole Beasley in the slot. Crowder spent the first 4 years of his career in Washington, and he was able to solidify himself as a pretty solid slot receiver despite being just a 4th-round pick in 2014. Outside of 2018, when Crowder only played 9 games, he had over 600 yards every season in Washington and had 7 touchdowns in 2016. The Jets inked him to a 3-year, $28.5 million deal. He had a solid tenure in New York. His best season came in 2019 when he had 833 yards and 6 touchdowns. Hitting free agency for the second time in his career, Crowder took a 1-year deal from Buffalo. Roster-wise, the Bills didn't lose much this offseason, but there was at least one big departure, Brian Daboll. Daboll's been around the NFL for a long time. He got his first job in the pros as a defensive assistant for the Patriots. He spent time with the Jets, the Browns, Dolphins, Chiefs. Daboll has actually won 5 Super Bowls and even won a national championship in his 1 year at Alabama. In 2018, he became the Bills' offensive coordinator. Daboll was the assistant coach of the year in 2020. Then after the 2021 season, the Giants hired Daboll to be their next head coach. Now it's time to see if Daboll can be the guy to turn around the Giants and mainly see if they can make Daniel Jones into a serviceable quarterback, but Buffalo needs to figure out life after Daboll, and that's going to be Ken Dorsey. Dorsey played quarterback in the NFL from 2003 to 08, and he got his first job in the league in 2012 as a pro scout for the Panthers. He later became Carolina's quarterback coach. In 2019, he became the Bills' quarterbacks coach, and then he was promoted to offensive coordinator for 2022. So it's not going to be a huge difference for Josh Allen, luckily. It's not like a new guy he doesn't know just just walked in. It's the same guy who worked under Daboll for the past few years, so the transition should be pretty seamless. Sean McDermott is still the head coach in Buffalo, and he has been since 2017. Of course, he's more involved on the defensive side of the ball, which should be good this season. Tremaine Edmonds has been a leader at linebacker, shout out Virginia Tech, and lucky for him, the guys behind him are studs too. Tre'Davious White is still one of the best cornerbacks in the pros. He'll play opposite first rounder Kaiir Elam. Then the Bills have maybe the best safety duo in the entire league. Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde are both fantastic, and they're going to be a nightmare for opposing all Stefon Diggs. At the number 2 receiver spot is Gabriel Davis, who has a serious shot to really break out this year. After 4 years at UCF, the Bills drafted Davis in the 4th round in 2020. He had a solid rookie season, 599 yards, 7 touchdowns. Then last season, Davis had a pretty similar year, 549 yards, 6 touchdowns. And then in the postseason, he had just an absolute crazy performance in the divisional round, that offensive shootout against the Chiefs. Davis had over 200 yards and tied the NFL record with 4 touchdowns in the game. At tight end, Dawson Knox is back after the best season of his career so far. Buffalo took Dawson Knox back in the 2019 NFL draft in the 3rd round after his time at Ole Miss. In his 2 seasons in the pros, Knox had over 600 yards and 5 touchdowns, but he really broke out in 2021 with nearly 600 yards and 9 touchdowns. James Cook is sure to scoop up some time at running back, but he'll have to split carries likely with Devin Singletary, who is entering his 4th season in Buffalo. In the 3rd round in 2019, the Bills drafted Singletary. He had almost 1,000 yards from scrimmage as a rookie, almost 800 yards rushing, and had 4 total touchdowns. Singletary had a bit of statistical decline in 2020, but he is coming off of the best year of his career in 2021. Singletary had 870 yards, 7 touchdowns on the ground, plus 228 yards and a touchdown receiving. Now, if you're looking for something to worry about with the Bills, it'll probably be the offensive line. They're not exactly set up to be good, certainly in the bottom half of the league, but not awful. Deion Dawkins is a stud tackle, but opposite him is Spencer Brown, who he's probably going to be the deciding factor of whether or not the line is actually good. On the interior, the Browns do have center Mitch Morse, who is just absolutely one of, if not the best center in the league. Buffalo did try to get some stability, at least some stability at guard by signing Roger Saffold, but he recently got hurt in a car accident and suffered an injury, so it's really unclear what his status is, but clearly the Bills have a lot to figure out on the offensive line, but luckily Josh Allen can probably figure that out. There's a lot of reasons to be excited about the Bills this season, and I think it's completely reasonable to believe that Buffalo is the team to beat. On paper, the Bills are the best team in the league, but paper doesn't always result in wins. Buffalo has been right there on the cusp the last couple of years, and it's ended the same way both times, losing to Patrick Mahomes. Can the Dolphins went out and traded for Tyreek Hill, so they'll look a lot different. It's definitely up in the air of whether or not the Jets are going to be any good. Honestly, who really knows what Zach Wilson's going to look like? And the Patriots, well, they don't look good on paper, but they're the Patriots, so they could still be goodish, but the last time we saw New England play, they got blasted into the sun by the Bills 47-7.